4 realtors, 0 BS.
Tune in for the real deal on Dallas real estate.
Nice. Hey guys, what's up? I'm gonna leave that in there.
No.
Bo, you gotta move, bro. Your butt's in the
Bo,
camera, bro.
Bo, come over here, buddy.
Your butt's in the camera, man. No one
Sit
wants
down.
to see that, bro. No one wants to see that. But hey guys,
Sit down.
welcome back to Real Deals, Real Talk. As you can see, we're taking a little light today, just me and Chris. So cheers to the stars. Cheers.
Starting on some White Claws.
Hey.
Cheers.
Cheers to the stars.
Stars are playing tonight. We're first.
Yeah, we're first right now.
We're first right now.
We're good.
So little celebratory. We're at the end of the week. Why not have a White Claw on a Thursday?
And we're not sponsored by White Claw, but
yes.
if they want to sponsor us, please do.
We are not sponsored by White Claw, but
we're open to the idea.
We're definitely open to the idea. As you guys can see, this is Bo.
He was showing he was butt earlier, but he's pretty cool. He's not usually frisky like that, but
if you're watching the episode, you'll want to see him. But he's a good boy. So last night we took a poll on what you guys wanted to hear more about, what you guys wanted to learn, and let's pull those up real quick. I think the biggest one was
how to buy your first home.
So the topics were, what do you want to know more about? It was how to buy your first home, renting versus owning, why should I use a realtor, and what does a DFW or what does a home cost in DFW? And so majority of the votes were how to buy your first home. So that's we're going to go basically from the very beginning process to the very end on
break down the numbers,
what that looks like, the whole entire process from beginning to looking to closing, lenders, title, everything. And I'll just kind of go ahead and just kind of start off that way and
do it
and just go in. So basically, if you're looking to buy a home, first thing we recommend is to find a lender. Go ahead, get with that person, that go-to lender that we have.
Or if you don't have one, hit us up. We know people.
Carter Seidel, Andy Pendleton, Matthew Rodig.
Sawyer Lake.
I'm sure you know a couple other people.
Yep.
And so get with them, and basically they're going to ask for your income. They're going to look at your debts. They're going to look at your credit score. They're going to look at your rental history. And they're basically going to assess all of that information and give you what we call the golden ticket, the pre-approval. That is the number that this person can qualify you up to buy, or a certain amount up to buy a home. So like if they look at all your information and they deduct that, okay, this person can afford a $450,000 home, that is your max budget. So that means you can go buy anything below that, obviously. Once you have that pre-approval, that means you're now allowed to go make offers on homes. So no one's going to take you seriously if you make an offer on a house without a pre-approval, or if you show a POF, which is proof of
funds are very important.
Right, and everybody knows cash is king. So if you are buying in cash, you can cut the closing time in half. You can do a 14-day close with cash versus a normal lending structure, whether it's conventional,
FHA,
VA. You will normally have a 30-day close. That's pretty standard. Could be a little bit before, maybe a little bit after. But once you get that pre-approval, me and Cameron or your realtor, they'll then set you up on searches for what you're looking for. They'll look at the criteria of the area, the price point, what location you want to be in, and basically you'll start to go look at homes.
Yep.
And then you want to keep elaborating on next steps of the process.
Yeah, so once you find a place, what you're gonna know, it's gonna be, again, you have your lender, you have us showing you homes in your price range, and you have that proof of funds, and you have your pre-approval saying, this is how much I can afford.
Either or.
And from there, that's where we come in, and we go in to talk to the listing agent, get in there, and
maybe do a CMA.
Do a CMA for them, kind of run the numbers, make sure they're getting a good price in the house for the area.
Make sure that the house isn't overpriced, and,
right?
And if it's underpriced, then you can you might be getting a good deal. You might be walking into equity, but a good realtor should always do a comparative market analysis to see what the value of the home is listed.
Yes, 100%. And then from there, we're going to put in our offer, and that's where we kind of come into play. I think it's an important aspect of, that's kind of where our value as a realtor comes in. A lot of times, if you don't use a realtor, you're not going to know to ask for certain things, whether it's a buy down, concessions. There's so many things that we can ask for.
Option period.
Option period. Money? Exactly. So
what's option money?
Yeah, exactly. So your option period is that period of time. It's usually 7 days where you can go in and get your inspection done, make sure things are, all good at the house before.
Do your due
Do your
diligence.
due diligence. Yeah, make sure there's nothing crazy wrong. And if there are things wrong, that's where the concessions will come in. So that's why we have that option period. We can go in, make sure that the foundation's good, the HVAC is good. There's no foundation issue, whatever it may be. There's no
Plumbing,
issue.
roofing,
Plumbing,
electricity, anything basically that you see as a problem or an issue, you can have your realtor on their behalf either try to negotiate repairs
or concessions to pay for
or
those repairs,
concessions,
which is money back, which is money to you from the seller to help you pay for those costs.
yeah. And so basically at closing, that's a credit on the closing disclosure, on the
Yes.
CD is what we call it. But basically, so the process is, let's say you find a house, you like it, we do the CMA, we talk to the listing agent, we say, hey, we're going to put in an offer. And from there, you write up the contract, make sure everything looks good. What you're going to need cash on hand, this is what people need to know. Once, let's say you make the offer at 450 grand and we come in at an asking price and they accept. They're okay with this, good on financing, good on the closing date. What's going to happen next is that you're going to sign the contract, the seller is going to sign the contract, and therefore now you are executed.
Right.
So in the next upcoming days, whether you have a 3-day option period, a 5-day, a 7-day, and even in those crazy times, now remember this, in 2019, 2020, people were putting zero option days, which
were
means
just
you have
getting-
no
yeah.
time to inspect the property, which is not great, but that's what it took to get a home. If
Right, 'cause they're going so
if
quick.
you had any day option period, it's more appealing to the seller to see a 0 day because there is no inspection period. That means that they're more serious than someone who has an inspection period because it's more of a
Right.
liability to them. But what's going to happen is in the next 3 days, so the following day, so let's say we execute tonight, the next day will be the first day of option period. Within those first 3 days, you have to have this money on hand, the option money and the earnest money. And the option money is a small $100 fee, $250 fee,
Yep.
somewhere around there, depending on the market, that you will never receive back. That goes to the owner, and you'll never get that back no matter what. Even if you buy the house, you still don't get that back ever.
That's you, in a way, it's you paying for that extra week of time to get that stuff done.
Exactly.
So that's
And then the earnest money is 1% of the home value. So
yeah, and it can go up from there. Kind of depending on how interested you are in that house, you can go up on your earnest money. Standard is 1% of the price of the home you put down for your earnest money. Kind of just like it's a intent of goodwill of like, hey,
yeah,
here's
it's
this
good
money.
faith.
Yes, good faith. Like, hey, here's this money that I'm going to put down for let you know that I am interested in this house. And
Lets
that
you know
can
you're
go up.
serious.
Right.
And so if that's 450, that's $4,500.
Yep.
So you need that cash on hand, and that has to be paid within the first 3 days. So by that that third day, at the end of the day by 11:59 p.m., whoever is the title officer, escrow officer on that home, which the seller will usually assign, you get with them and they send you wiring instructions to wire that money. So if it's a $450,000 home, you're going to need the option fee. Let's say it's $200 plus your earnest money. So that's $4,700. You're going to have that money in cash on hand. So that's something that most buyers need to know, that you do need that upfront cost. And that money, that earnest money, will go towards the house when you close if you decide to go through. So that being said, once you go through the option period and you have talked about negotiations, maybe there's some minor repairs, whether the seller agreed to repair them or they decided to give a concession, they agree to $5,000 for repair, great. Option period is coming to a close. During that time frame, though, you have the right to not buy the house
You can back out during that option period
with no penalty. The only thing you don't get back is the option money,
right.
which you never do anyways. Now, you can get your earnest money back, but that money is sitting in a third party, which is title. It's sitting in an escrow account. Both parties have to agree to give the money back.
Yes.
They have to assign and they have to agree. So sometimes it can get a little hairy where the seller's like, I want to keep half because you wasted my time. And they're like, well, I want all my money back because I'm not buying this house and I'm not giving you half of $4,500. So it can get kind of hairy sometimes. Most of the time, it's not
a problem.
Not that big of an issue. But if you get cold feet, if you don't think it's the right place, you found something else you like more, you can back out during that option period. So let's say option period comes to a close. Now, basically, we're in the process of pending. So you're officially pending now.
Yep. Under contract, everything executed.
And now, basically, what happens here is the lender is basically waiting to get all of the necessary paperwork needed. Just like title, they're going to be using a lot of documents, a lot of papers, surveys, T47 affidavits. Um, what else? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes
There's
into
a lot
it.
of stuff, yeah.
Deeds.
Just
There's a lot of paperwork to sign.
closing
transfer.
disclosure.
CD. They got to do balancing right before to get the actual details of the numbers.
Right.
And so I'd say maybe like a couple days before, maybe like 3 days before, you'll get a CD from either your lender or the title company, and they'll let you know what the total is, and they'll itemize everything. And then basically, your realtor will call the closing office, and they'll say, the title company, they'll say, hey, when can we close? They'll say 9 a.m., 10 a.m., what do you want? You go to the office, you go sign a bunch of paperwork, probably takes about 30 minutes, and then the seller will go and close. And once both parties have wired the money, well, I'd say the lender, once the lender wires the money from the funder to the seller, they got their funds. You are officially closed, and the process is done, and the owner will leave the keys at title, and they will hand you the keys, and that's when we get paid. That's when the lender gets paid. That's when all the commissions are dispersed, and everybody's paid. That is when the house is officially closed, and the home is now yours.
Right.
So that is a crash course in
well, 101.
how to buy your first home.
Quick crash course, yeah. And then just to break down the payments. So kind of all that stuff, leading up to that point, and you finally get to closing table. So, let's say for instance, you're buying a $450,000 house. You put 15% down. Interest rates right now are at 6.7. That'll be your month.
Dropped in this morning, remember?
And it did drop. What did it drop to?
We'll go into that.
We'll jump into that. But yeah, there's definitely talk about that. There was some rate drops today. They did drop. But so that leaves you with those numbers, it leaves you at a monthly payment of $3,841. And the things that go into your monthly payment are your P&I, and then your taxes, insurance, and PMI. So those are what goes into your monthly payment each month on your mortgage, what you're paying.
If you put down less than 20%.
If you put down less than 20%.
If you put down 20% or more, those don't go into your monthly payments.
Right.
That's why people try to save to get to 20%, but you don't necessarily need. You can go as low as 3.5% or even 3% on a conventional loan.
That's true. Yeah, I mean I can go lower. This is just a standard
just rough estimate.
Rough estimate of kind of what you'd be looking at a 15% down at 450, and then your bring to close amount would be 93,200. And what's included in that is your actual that 15% down, so that would come out to 67,000, and then your prepaids and fixed costs are going to equal out to about 25,000. So that's just that's title fees, lender fees. Your prepaid cost of insurance, taxes, and interest up front will all go into that. So,
and it's not necessarily always that number.
No, it's not always that. It just depends on the amount that you put down or the kind of loan that you're getting. It will change.
Exactly.
Those numbers will vary. But that's just kind of a breakdown of what goes into those numbers, so y'all have a better understanding of what am I paying for when I'm bringing
how much money
$90,000 to the closing table. You're paying for that.
Yeah.
To get that, I mean, the more you put down, the lower your monthly payment's going to be. So if you were to put down more, you'd have a lower monthly payment. And then he was saying too, some of those, some of that money in that monthly payment will be taken off if you do a different kind of loan, or if you do if you do 20% up, you're going to have a lot lower of a payment as well.
Yeah.
So
and that like I said, that number will vary. So if it's 20% is the number that people mostly have in their head. They're like, I want to get to 20. Well, you don't need 20.
You don't need 20. No.
You can get into a house and start building equity with only 3% down, 3.5% down even.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I want to know is that, or let you guys know, is that last year I got a client into a home for only $6,500.
Yeah,
total. She had a condo she wanted to buy. It was $290,000. I got her an extra $5,000 from concession. She actually needed to move out of her apartment, but it was 3 months away. I said, "How much is your lease?" She's like, "Well, I'm renting a house, actually, not an apartment. I'm paying $1,100 between my roommates, and I don't move out until 3 months from now." And so I got her a concession for that 3 months to make up for the difference. So I got her $5,000. We went up on the price, $5,000, so we paid a little bit more. But the owner gave us a concession, so they gave us $5,000. So she used that $5,000 to help pay for her monthly expenses for the rent until she was able to move out of her lease. But the money down she only needed was $6,500 because of the concessions. It brought down the closing costs. And that was it. That's all she needed to bring to be a homeowner. Now, if you have $6,500, would you not go buy a home?
Hell yeah, I would.
It's 2 months rent for some people. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's not as much as you think. And times, even buying with my other clients, I'm working on a deal in McKinney. They have a $360,000 offer, the original closing costs were like $24K.
Yep.
They had previously been renting the property, and they put down a $5,000 security deposit. So there would be tenants who would end up buying the house. And so basically, if you look at that $24K, and they're only putting 3.5% down, so let's say that's 12 grand or whatever.
Right.
They get the 5 grand back, so now you're down to 19. I also got them $10,000 from the owner, knocked that down.
That's 9,000.
That's 9 grand. And then pending the inspection period, if there's things wrong, you can try and knock off a little bit more. But we got them down from 24,000 to below 10.
Yeah.
And that's what we offer. 88% of people have used a realtor in a transaction
Texas, they use,
in Texas. 88% of people use a realtor in Texas and prefer using a realtor because we are the experts. We go to school for this. Yeah. We learn an extensive course of 6
contracts,
classes.
Negotiations, how to get y'all those things to have y'all have lower cost.
We have the most rigorous course or licensing program
180 hours
in the nation. In the nation, I believe California is only 135. New York's 150.
I know it doesn't sound crazy, but 180 hours, it's
a lot.
It's a lot. There's a lot of information all in there, and it's stuff that prepares us to help y'all get those concessions. Negotiate on your behalf. And a lot of times when people don't use a realtor, they don't know that they can ask for certain things, and that's why it's important.
They might not know what earnest money.
They don't know. They don't know how much to put down for earnest money, or how to ask for money and concessions, or how to ask for people to pay for closing costs. That's something that
how to use leverage,
how to leverage that exactly.
You have certain situations
running a CMA, like you were saying earlier. Running a CMA is so important because it shows you the value of the home sold in your neighborhood or the ones that are listed in the neighborhood to see kind of where the house that you're putting an offer in on compares to the other ones. So that's important to check out to make sure you're not overpaying and you're not getting bamboozled on your deal.
You're not getting screwed if you're paying too much. And that's where we come in. That's why you have to do 6 30-hour courses. You have to take a test on each 30-hour course,
state and national exams,
and you can't go to the next course until you do the first 30 hours. You have to take that exam. Once you complete all of that, then you got to study for the 140 question or 120 question national exam. And then you have to pass also the Texas exam, which is 40 questions, and you have to pass both. And you can pass one but not the other and still not be licensed. You have to pass both.
Yep.
And I think only about 28% of realtors pass on their first try. Me and Cameron both did on our first try.
I can't say I did. I
thought you told me you did.
I passed the state on my first try, not the national, and then I went back and passed the national. Yeah, but
your boy got it the first try.
Pretty much the first try. If
It's nerve wracking. It's a lot of information. I mean, it's just like anything in life though. You study it, and you know it, and go in and be confident. But just to go off the point, like we are here to help you. We have a wealth of knowledge. We live this every single day.
We chose to do. We talked about this before. We chose to do this. It wasn't a backup plan for us. This is what we dedicated our time and effort to do, and learn the contracts, learn the rules, learn how all these things that are going to apply to you helping you buy a home.
And if you're a realtor looking to get, if you're just beginning or you're looking to become a realtor, you really don't know how to be a realtor during the classes and everything. It's like you get licensed and you're like, okay, what the fuck do I do now?
Right.
You really don't learn everything until you're in the mix. Hopefully you're with a mentor that's really great who can show you the ropes.
That's really important too.
You really don't understand it and what you do on a daily basis and how I like to call it like a carousel. You got your lender, title, offer. It's all like a recipe. Once you do it one time, you're like, okay, I see how this works.
Starts to make sense more,
I can replicate it now. And thank God I haven't done a short sale, but for you to do that short sale, like I still haven't done that.
My first transaction I ever sold a house with was a short sale. And for those y'all that don't know, I don't know. I forget the way that Chris explained it, but like the way I've been explaining it before is kind of like a pre-foreclosure. So the people who own the house owe money on the house, but they're not quite foreclosed on it. And so you got to get approved by not only, the lender on the buyer's side, but the lender on the seller's side has to approve the offer, and it just makes the process a lot longer. It's honestly, I don't know why they call it a short sale because it's not short.
That is funny. It's not short.
It's not short. It does like a 3-4 month close almost. So, but it's not short.
Basically, what Chris said is like you buy $1 million home, you have a $800,000 loan, and the house is worth $750K.
Right.
So you're just bottom over, your head over heels.
Your head over heels, yeah.
You
bottoms
can't
up on
you
it.
can't even afford to pay back the loan. and the loan's not even worth how much
Right.
the house is.
So the bank or the lender on the seller side is looking to alleviate that money and get that money. Hey, what offer is gonna help us pay some of that money to the
they're cutting their losses.
Right. Exactly.
Basically. And it's sensitive. It sucks, and it's a bad situation to be in. But they're rare. Honestly,
they're more common. I think Chris was saying they're more common back during like in '08 when you had the recession. A lot of people were kind of upside down their mortgages, so that was more common back then. But
the housing market is just fucking went down. But that doesn't. It's rare, but it's also if somebody it's different than somebody foreclosing where they're not making payments for 6 months. That's straight up a foreclosure. You're losing your asset completely, and that's gonna really fuck you over in the long run. No, don't foreclose on your own. But
no, do not.
But yeah, that's I don't know what else to add on terms of buying a house. I mean, that's pretty much the whole process.
Well, yeah, one more thing I was gonna add too is a lot of people, the rebuttal that I get a lot is that it's so expensive, and like yes, up front it is more expensive. And again, I mean that's why you have us to get that cost lower. But it is gonna be more money than you're gonna go pay at rent up front. But over the course of time with your equity, you're gonna make that money back and then some. So
imagine you stay there for 10 years.
It's an investment. It's like in 10 years you're gonna have made like use the example of your dad's house for instance. Like he bought his house and like how much is like or who was it you're saying the other day? He bought a house and like they've already made back like almost double of what they.
That was over in Salina, and
Salina,
then my other friend in Austin. They bought in 2019. They bought a house for a little over $500,000. It's worth close to $1 million now.
Yeah,
that's
crazy.
6 years.
Yeah, in 6 years, they more than doubled their money. So
and I just know that from the whole experience that I've seen, even like with my family, my sister bought a house back in 2020. She's already made close to $100,000 on the home, and that's only 5 years. I mean, 5 years. I mean, she bought a house off Preston Frankfurt for $395,000.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that doesn't even sound like it exists anymore in far North Dallas.
But like that's crazy. And then now it's worth
it's worth close to 500 now.
That's So I mean,
it's literally like a 3-2. Right. Nice 3-2, like
so
2,000 square feet.
That opposed to paying rent for let's say $3,000 a month.
Yeah. Do 3,000 times 12. 3,000, 36 grand.
30. And that's just in 1 year.
Exactly.
So that's like you're paying $36,000 while the people over here that are buying a house are making almost double what they paid for their house in 6 years. So looking at it, yes, in the aspect of yes, it is more expensive up front, but over time, real estate is an investment, and it's going to be something that's going to bring money back into your pocket. So
and the people who are understanding of that are usually the ones that benefit. You could have a great income and let's say you make 10 grand a year and you're like, I only pay $2,000 in rent. Like that's a fifth of my income. That's only
10 grand a year. Is it 10 grand a month?
Sorry, 10 grand.
I was like, damn, 10 you ain't getting nothing for 10 grand a year.
You ain't getting shit for 10 grand a year. No, sorry, 10 grand a month, and you make you're like my rent's $2,000. Why would I think about buying right now? It's only a fifth of my income. It's something that you could build wealth instead of just literally
over the course of time, never seeing that money again.
You're never ever getting a return on that. And like we said on the other podcast, you or the average is $300,000 over the course of however many years people rent. That's how much money they spend before they end up buying a house, which is crazy. Asinine.
That's like almost enough to buy a house, and
easily enough for the down payment. Bro.
Yeah, more than enough for the down payment. Yeah, but I'm saying the actual cost of a house, paying $300,000 in rent over the course before you even buy. Yeah, you're right there. You got more than enough for a down payment. You got more than enough to be comfortable buying in most cities in the Metroplex. So I mean,
absolutely. I mean, if you have that much money, it's over $250,000.
Right.
We have a rate update for you.
Yeah, give us a little rate update. They dropped today, which is exciting. And again, right now we weren't even in a bad spot before. I know people are so convinced that being in the sixes is a bad place to be, but it's honestly a very balanced place to be. It's not high, but it's not it's not abnormally low, but it's it's not anything that I would say I'm concerned with. I think we're at a good balance right now.
Yeah, and we're just breaking out of spring on our way to summer.
Yeah, and then busy times coming up, so we might see more. As the market kind of starts picking back up again.
So I got this shout out Carter Seidel with Seidel Mortgage Group out of Brazos National Bank. He usually gives me rate updates monthly or weekly. So today he has said that rates are breaking into 6.375 territory as of this morning's stock market sell-off and move back into bonds. looks like we will be hanging out in the 6.25 to 6.625 range
Love
for a
it.
little while. Government loans, FHA, VA are getting close to the mid 5 range. So that is a great update to hear. I believe Powell said that he expected 2 more rate drops either around June or before June or after June. I can't remember if it's before or after, but sometime in June there will be another cut. I believe. I believe this is the first of the 2. So they're giving buyers a chance to get back into the market, and that's great for everybody. That's great for people who are trying to sell their house and move to a new home, and it's great for buyers who are looking to buy their first house, and it's great for us. It's great for business, and it's a great market we're in right now. It's always usually starts to really get heavy coming into May. I mean, we're at the
Spring
beginning
and summer.
beginning of April right now, but stepping into the summer, it's going to be pretty busy. I predict better than 2023.
I think
sure.
it definitely. I mean, I can already tell it's picking back up. I have people reaching out to me, whether it be, their leases are ending, they're not quite ready to buy, or it's, people getting into the market wanting to talk to lenders. It's starting to pick up. I think people are realizing that, where we're at in the market right now is not a bad place to be. And, it's, never a bad time to, just kind of see what your options are. And I've said that before, and you said it before too. And the lenders that come on here, it's important to get on here and, kind of have an idea of where you are. And it's your spending power. What's your spending power?
That's a good
And
way
if it's
to
not
put
where
it,
you want it to be, you at least have that, that basis line of, okay, I'm here, but I want to be here. And you can work your way up to get to that point. So,
I usually say, like, even if somebody's like, oh, I'm not looking to buy right now, like, dude, it's fine. If you're 12 months out, that's fine. I'll reach back out in 6 months and give you a game plan and try to see what you're looking for. Are you trying to go into a home with the minimal down payment, or are you really trying to go into a home in a different approach where,
right.
hey, I want to save up that 20%. I don't want to pay
Mhm.
private mortgage insurance. I don't want to have to deal with those taxes in my payment every month.
Right.
I'd rather pay it at the end of the year. So there's a lot of different ways to just craft that, and you can talk with your clients and get them prepared on what to expect. I think that's a good way, no matter how far out you are. You can still just link them with lenders, let them know what to expect, and kind of talk through the whole process like we just did here. And that's the other thing I wanted to touch on too is different cities will have different tax rates, of course. Dallas is probably one of the higher ones, for sure. But as you go further north, there's these other districts where these cities are building new master plan developments, right?
Mhm.
And there's things called MUDs and PIDs, and those are like taxes that go into the city because it's so rural that they need to put in water systems, plumbing systems, sewer systems, trash services. That is a tax that will get added on each year until pretty much the whole length of the mortgage, pretty much. And that you don't really see that here in the main DFW area.
Mhm.
You don't see it because the cities have been here for a long time.
Right.
But as you go further north, there's also something to consider because the tax rate might be higher in terms of the MUDs and PIDs, and those are something to be cautious about and be conscious about whenever you're thinking about buying a new build in a newer development area, because that will hike up your tax rate even though it's further north and it's a little bit more rural. The taxes as a whole might not be as bad as Dallas or the other cities like Plano, Frisco, but when you start adding the MUDs and PIDs every month, it could be $250, $300 more, a month, depending on what it is.
Right.
And so.
But yeah, I mean, it's it's kind of a breakdown for y'all of what the home buying process looks like. It was quick. I understand it was quick, and just a slight breakdown of the numbers, but hopefully that kind of gave y'all a better understanding of what that looks like. And we want y'all to engage with us more. So if there's more questions y'all have about certain things we mentioned, or if there's things that you want to know more about the home buying process, or renting versus owning, whatever it may be, reach out to us on Instagram, realdeals.realtalk. We're happy to answer any questions, whether it be through Instagram or even on here, just to have stuff, give y'all content that y'all want to hear about. So let us know what you want to know, and we're happy to answer it or get someone on here who can.
Yeah, and it could be about anything. It could be about Dallas. It could be about what other things are coming to the Metroplex. Anything. We'll be having a bunch of creative polls and different types of questions to be asked, but we want answers from y'all, so
100%.
we can put out the best content we can.
Exactly right. All right, so I don't think you've done any trivia yet, Chris, by yourself.
Oh,
I think it's time for you to do some trivia.
Go for it.
It's time for trivia.
Dude, you still do this.
I-
The voice.
I know I have to. I got to get into character, man. Okay, it just makes it sound better.
Okay.
I feel like. All
Okay,
right.
wait. What are we doing? Are we doing
This
Texas?
is just Dallas. Dallas
Oh,
trivia.
fuck, I might get cooked.
All right. Which Dallas-based professional sports team was the first to win a championship in its league?
It's got to be the Cowboys.
No, it was the Dallas Texans, who are now the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay, well.
In 1962. So
Okay.
I had to give you a hard one.
Okay,
No.
fine.
Some of these are kinda-
I knew it was football though.
You knew it was football. That's why I
Alright.
said you're kind of close. All right. What food originally popularized in the 1960s in Dallas is now a staple of Tex-Mex cuisine worldwide?
fajitas.
Yes, sir.
Bingo.
Yes, that's another thing too. Dallas has some great Tex-Mex. I know, you can get a lot of good Tex-Mex in San Antonio, but I think Dallas is up there, man. I'm telling you.
Shout out to my buddy Bryce Lancart. He owns Joe T. Garcia's in Fort Worth. They've been there since 1935.
Hey, there
It
you
is
go.
absolutely a staple of Fort Worth. If you're from Fort Worth or you're from Dallas, you probably know what that is.
Yes, it's great.
Go check that place out. It's awesome. Great margaritas.
Yes.
They're strong.
They're strong, very strong.
Very strong.
Texas strong.
You need one. You need one or two. Texas strong.
Texas strong, baby. All right. Which Dallas
Wait, am
land-
I 2 for 2? Or no?
No, you're one for two. You're
That's
not giving
bullshit.
that first one. No.
Fine.
You were close, but no cigar.
Okay.
All right. Which Dallas landmark was the site of President JFK's assassination on November 22nd, 1963?
I know exactly where that is. I don't know the name of the landmark. Is it?
Wild guess?
It's something like Brigade or the
No.
what is it?
Dealey Plaza.
Dealey Plaza. Ah,
See, it's like one of those things.
fuck.
Like if I hadn't looked at it, I would have known. But I've heard people say
Oh,
that. Like I
no.
knew it, but I wouldn't have. Yeah.
okay.
All right.
Damn. I knew. Fuck. Now that you said that, I know.
What famous fried food was invented at the Texas State Fair in Dallas?
Everything's
There's a lot of fried
there.
food, but you gotta think about it. What
Is
is
it-
like? What is it famous for?
Is it? Wait. Oh god. God, there's so many I'm thinking.
You know it. I know you know
Is
it.
it fried ice cream?
No, come on. Think. No, I'll give you one more. I'll
Fri-
give you one more guess. Just think. Famous fried food. Like you go to the state fair, and this is something that There's a line. There's a line out the ass for it. No, Fletcher's corn dog.
Oh fuck.
You knew that one. I know you
I
knew
haven't
that
been to
one.
the state fair in years.
No, that's on you, man. All right, I'm gonna
Damn.
do two more.
You can also get those at the Rough Riders game too.
I'm not gonna know this one. I'm giving you hard ones today. since,
That's
you know,
fine. Cook me.
Cook
Whatever.
you. Yeah.
Cook me up.
What famous blues guitarist, known for his hits like "Pride and Joy," was born in Dallas in 1954?
It's not Buddy
She's
Holly
my pride
because
and joy.
he's from
She's my
Lubbock.
sweet little thing.
I'm not fucking. I don't know 50s music.
He was born in 1950, bro. He was born in 1954.
Oh,
It's
sorry,
not when
sorry,
this
sorry.
song came out. No. Pride and Joy. Come on, you know that song? She's my sweet little thing. She's my pride and joy.
No, I tap out.
Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Okay. Damn. Yeah,
I
I wouldn't
know.
have done that. God, make everybody else look better.
All right, let's do. I'll give you one more. I don't know how many that even was, but I think I've been kind of cooking you, so maybe I'll give you one more easy one and one more
Give me a hard and easy.
a hard and easy. Okay. Let's see. It's also easy.
I'm getting cooked, Bo.
All right. Mm,
Bo's passed out right now.
he's done. He's done with our shit. He's like, all right, can we wrap this up?
He's like eyes halfway open.
All right. What presidential library and museum is located on the campus of Southern Methodist University?
God, I don't know shit about SMU. Oh God. Wait, say the question again.
Which presidential library and museum is located on the campus of SMU in Dallas?
Like, am I picking the name of it?
Yeah, or just you can give me. Yeah, what's the name? Who's it named after? Who's the president that the library and museum is?
Is it JFK?
No, it's George W. Bush, Presidential
Jesus.
Library and Museum.
Well, you're from fucking Highland Park. I don't know.
Oh, whatever. All right. Here, I pretty much gave you the answer in this last one for one of them. What are the 3 D1 colleges that are in the DFW Metroplex?
Okay. 3 D1 colleges in the DFW Metroplex. SMU, TCU, and
One more.
why am I blanking? SMU, TCU.
Think north.
Oh, UNT.
UNT. Yep. Bang.
Green machines.
I thought it was Mean Green. Is it not?
It's like the mean
Some-
green
Mean
machine
Green,
or whatever.
something like
something
that.
like that. I don't
But
know.
no, hey.
But anyways,
Shout out to them though for giving us their basketball coach. We appreciate y'all giving us your basketball coach over at Texas Tech.
Wait, did
love
McCaslin come from UNT?
Yeah, he was at UNT.
Oh,
They won the NIT championship when he was over there. That's
Yeah.
why we got him.
Well, I don't want to talk about the devastating loss to the Gators. That was very unfortunate. We were up by 10 with 2 or 3 minutes to go. Just absolutely devastating.
Someone today walked in and they go, "Congratulations on your making the Elite Eight." I go, "But we didn't win the Elite Eight."
It doesn't
no,
matter.
it doesn't matter. Yeah, I'm like,
And fucking Kyle, that motherfucker, he's got
I know
his
the
Cougars.
Cougs.
Oh, gosh damn it, Houston.
Hey, I'm rooting for Duke here. I'm like, Duke, just take it. I don't want Houston to
Well,
win.
my take on it is like, now I want Florida to win because if we lose to the champions,
That's true.
then
That's
that
true.
makes us feel better.
That's true.
But anyways,
I've always been a Duke fan because their arena is called the Cameron Indoor,
okay,
and they call their fans the Cameron Crazies.
okay.
And I had a shirt when
That's
I
your
was a
name.
kid that said Cameron Crazies on it.
That
I thought
makes
was so
sense.
cool. Everyone there was wearing them, and I went to a game, and I was like, I don't know how old I was, but I was like, Dad, why do their shirts say that? He goes, well, it's the Cameron Indoor Arena. And I was like, this is sick. They're like all my fans.
That's my
Like,
name.
That's my name. They're my fans.
I'm a Cooper Flag fan.
Cooper Flag, dude. He's dope. Yeah.
I like Cooper Flag, but I'm not necessarily a Duke fan. But
yeah.
anyways, short little sweet podcast here is just us two today. Like Cameron said, send us some more questions. If
Yeah,
you guys
let
have
us know what
questions,
you want to know.
answer the polls. We'll be posting it on my personal and his personal and the podcast's Instagram because we're trying to grow the podcast Instagram.
Yes, sir.
Again, Chris_Johnson_9 on Instagram.
At Cameron Carp is my realtor, and then the podcast page is realdeals.realtalk.
So, yeah, absolutely. Just let us know and comment on Spotify, comment on our Instagram, whatever, DM, message us.
Let us know.
Thank you guys for listening, and we'll be back next Tuesday.
Yep. Peace, guys.
Peace. Good
Did it.
stuff.
Yes, sir.